And you know very well that what you're doing today in Gaza is wrong. And you know that you've been wrong for a whole century in Palestine. And the consequences are going to be inescapable, just as they always are. For you, just as they are inescapable for everyone else. And no, I'm not forgetting about America. The same applies to you. The same applies to America. You're not getting away with anything either. I mean, do you really believe that you got away with the genocide of the Native Americans? Do you really think that you got away with chattel slavery? Do you really think that you got away with the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? You think you got away with that? Do you really think that you're getting away right now with the genocide in Gaza that you're enabling? Every single thing that you have done, every grotesque injustice that you have committed as a nation is going to fall upon your heads. In fact, it's already happening. Oh, it's an evil nation that tells its people that there's never going to be a reckoning. It's an evil nation that tells their own people that they're above the law, that tells them that they're unaccountable, that tells them that they will never face the consequences of their actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Anbiya about the fate of all of those nations who wielded injustice as their weapon and who thought themselves to be immune to accountability. All those nations before who persisted in their crimes until the punishment was upon them. And when the punishment came, they fled, or they tried to flee. And Allah told them, don't flee. Return to your homes, return to your luxuries, where you used to live, so that you can be questioned. But then when it was too late, when their doom was already sealed, then they cried out, woe to us, indeed we were the wrongdoers. You know, I had a post on TikTok the other day, an excerpt from a recent video where I proposed the idea that the American citizens should be allowed to sell their citizenship to foreigners for money, so that then they could take that money and escape from the United States and go somewhere else and get out of that country. You know, within minutes, that post had tens of thousands of views, tens of thousands of likes, shares, and comments, and almost all of the comments were from Americans saying that they would sell their citizenship in a heartbeat, and they'd be on the next flight out if they could get out of America. They wouldn't look back. They'd say they'd leave with just the clothes that they had on their back, because this is fleeing from the punishment that they know is descending on that country. You were warned when you slaughtered the Native Americans of that land and built your empire on their bones. You were warned when you enslaved millions of Africans, stripped them of their humanity, and treated them like commodities. You've been warned when you waged wars of conquest, when you funded dictatorships, when you propped up apartheid regimes, when you crushed entire economies to maintain your dominance. You were warned when you supported the occupation of Palestine, when you armed the murderers of children, when you justified genocide and you justified ethnic cleansing as self-defense. For generations, you've played God upon the earth, believing yourselves to be above consequences, believing yourselves to be above judgment, above retribution. You thought that justice was something that you could impose upon others, but never something that could be imposed upon you. And listen, understand, your problems, your wrongs, are not mistakes. No one forced you to commit those crimes. You know, no one put a gun to your head and forced you to treat other human beings like livestock. The racial problem in America wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misstep. Do you understand? It was a deliberate, created injustice. You created this problem, and you worked hard to create this problem. You didn't just hate African people. You concocted a whole quasi-scientific rationale to justify it. You willfully interpreted your religious text to try to justify it. You built a complex propaganda, indoctrination, brainwashing, miseducation system to try to implant it into the minds of your people, to reinforce the evil. Do you understand? You did this with commitment. You worked diligently, relentlessly, and invested massive energy, time, money, intellect, and effort to enforce, to maintain, and to preserve the injustice you created. And you created an economic system, a machine for managing your economy through war, through torture, through maiming, crippling, killing, and carnage. No one made you do that. You chose to do that. And you maintain and defend that system until today. You can't just say, oops, and let's move on. You have never addressed what it is about you that made you choose to do these things, that made you create these injustices, that made you systematize these injustices and protect them for decades upon decades. It's like a degenerate gambler, addicted to gambling, and he thinks that if he can find some kind of way to pay off his debts, if he can find some way to get his house from being foreclosed, it means he solved his problem. No. His problem is his addiction to gambling. So America, you have never addressed what is internally wrong with your culture, with your so-called civilization, that has made you do these things, that has made you do the things that you have done. Not to mention, like I said, you have never actually ever even stopped doing those things. But you think that if you can just keep kicking the can of consequences down the road, then you never have to change. This is what you think. You think that you're succeeding. You think that your way is working. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He did not create the heavens and the earth and everything that is in between them in play, in jest, in amusement. The world is not a playground for your power. The world is a stage for divine justice. The laws of history are not written by your institutions. They are decreed by the one who governs the cosmos. And when the balance is broken, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restores it through whatever means necessary. And now, America, you're beginning to see the consequences in America. The cracks in your empire are showing. Your economy is crumbling under the weight of its own corruption. Your political system is paralyzed. It's been hijacked by oligarchs.